Distributing. Thank you for joining us on Old School with Mark and Ashley. Tonight we have a special guest. Tell them who you are.
Hey everybody, I'm Brandon O'Gwen. I'm the chair of judging for Memphis in May, the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest.
We thought this is our inaugural Memphis in May episode, and since we've been doing Memphis in May so long, I have a lot of people that ask from time to time, well, about well, how do you cook? What do you cook? All three categories. How do you do it with your judging? Like, you got to pick one. So there's a lot of nuances that
Yeah.
people don't know that makes difference. Memphis and May different than MBN or KCBS or Houston or any of those. So there's a lot of things that are different in general every year, but this year even more is different.
Yeah.
So we want to
Yeah.
go into kind of the main things that you need to think about at Memphis in May if you're thinking about going as a just a visitor, or if you're thinking about going eventually to cook, if you're going to visit a friend, or if you're just visiting town, you want to go hang out, what to expect, kind of, and if you decide you want to think about cooking, some of those other things to think about and prepare for.
Well, first and foremost, something to remember if you're just planning on going down there, they're not selling tickets at the gate.
No.
So you need to buy your tickets ahead of time.
Yes.
Yep.
So if you're visiting somebody and you think such and such, I'm going to buy me a ticket at the gate, you can't do that this year.
No, and gate hours are actually a little later than normal, right?
Yeah, most days we're not even opening the park to the public until 3 o'clock.
That's what I was thinking.
And the closing time is a little bit earlier. I think we get an extra hour Friday night, I believe. But yeah,
10 and then 11, right?
it's 10 and then 11, I believe, is what it is.
So expect to come in no sooner than, I think, at 12 o'clock one day, maybe on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Saturday's a little earlier here.
Everything else is at 3 o'clock.
Real quick.
And expect on Thursday night to be leaving by 10 and Friday night to be leaving by 11.
Yeah.
And they're pretty forceful when it's time to leave.
Yeah, they kind of.
Just fair warning, if you've never seen that before, talk about things that are its own animal. Removing the patrons from the park every night at Memphis in May is quite a spectacle to watch. If you're a team, you get to enjoy that every time. So that's always something to see.
That's always fun.
It's like clearing Bill Street.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
That's right. So first of all, let's start before we ask Brandon a lot of questions. How many years have you cooked Memphis in May?
Right at 25. Like 25 years.
Brandon, how long have you been involved in Memphis in May, whether cooking, judging, or?
I've been involved with Memphis in May since 2013.
Okay.
I've been in judging since 2014. So I worked for them for a year and then made the jump over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So I cooked. I said this morning on a live on our Facebook page that I've cooked either 10 or 12 years. Some of those were kind of fuzzy. So I don't know which one. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of like, I don't know when I was 25 or maybe 26, So
if you're coming as a visitor, just know that the gate hours are, they typically don't open until 3, and you got to be out by 10 on Thursday and 11 on Friday. But then on Saturday, the gates don't open until noon. If you've just got a daily ticket, you can't get in until then. If you've got friends in there, the only way you're going to do that is if you have a team wristband on, right?
Yeah, you have to have a 24-hour wristband. Will be the only way in the park outside of the gated hours at all. So
now, when they run everybody out, are they going to? If you have a 24-hour wristband, they're going to let everybody stay, or just a certain number of people per team?
You would put me on the spot with that, wouldn't you? I think as long as you're within reason,
yeah,
and you're quiet, because it is quiet time in the park. No, you can't keep your music cranked up and all that good stuff. Pretty much, if you've got a 24-hour band on and you're in your booth, they're not really going to mess with you about anything like that, as long as you're not being rowdy or anything.
So, as a visitor, the other thing, if you don't know anybody, you're going to be food vendors like normal?
There is going to be some vendors this year. I think it's going to be a few less than we normally have, just because of social distancing,
sure.
Blah, 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 that sort of thing. But yeah, we will have some food vendors. I know there's no barbecue alley. There's Kingsford Tour Champions is another way to actually try some barbecue. And I think they're going to have a couple of vendors that are doing some stuff. And then I think there's going to be a few demos going on in a few places. But
would you say that's the biggest misconception about Barbecue Fest? About people think they can just come there and eat barbecue.
Oh yeah, by far.
If you're not from here, don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
You think I'm going to the World Championship?
Right.
I'm going to Memphis in May. I can just go down there and people are selling barbecue. I can go eat barbecue.
Yeah, and that's what they think, and that's a health department regulation in a normal year is that they can't you as a team can't sell it to the public or anything like that.
Yeah.
Of course, you can invite them into your booth normally and feed them if you'd like.
But really, you got to know. You really need.
The difference is that this is a competition. Like if you're in another big city and they've got like in Reno, Nevada or Columbus, Ohio, they got a rib fest, and the rib fest is for the public to go and buy food and eat, and there'll be a little competition on the side. This is competition first and foremost, and then there's some marketing for vendors and stuff out there as well, and there are a few vendors to will cook for the the people walking around as well, but it's primarily competition.
And they're showing off grills and stuff like
right.
that. Yeah.
Right.
That was always the biggest thing to me. People thought it was just but it's really a whole bunch of private parties. That's really people spend a lot of money. They have either they're feeding sponsors or something like that, where it's just a bunch of different private parties, really. All right. Anybody? I got the chat open. Has anybody got a question on there?
Now, the other side of the equation here is if you're thinking about coming to cook Memphis in May, whole another ball of wax.
Yeah.
So I had a guy call me yesterday talking about wanting to figure out how to get in to cook ribs for this year.
Oh no.
He didn't know.
Yeah.
And as I got thinking, I was like, well, he just don't know. He's not in that world.
Yeah.
So he has no idea that the cutoff of this was back in January or end of January.
Yeah,
right?
and normally it's a little earlier than that. Of course, we were kind of delayed in getting everything going because we were actually waiting on approval from the health department to even know that we could have it this year. So yeah, I mean, you have to apply months in advance. I mean, we do team day, which is your last chance to add anything or do anything like that.
But you can't change pork categories even at that.
No, you can't. No, we're already we've already got a set field. Like if you decide you wanted to cook poultry because you got a fire chicken recipe you wanted to try out,
good.
You can add it then.
Yeah.
But
you can add ancillaries, but you can't change your main event.
No, not at all, because we've already booked and
because that's based on how you're laid out too.
It is, yeah. They're laid out in divisions throughout the park. Pretty much, you'll notice all the hog teams are in one little section. The shoulder teams are on the south end as normal, and then the rib teams is most of the north end of the park.
That's right.
And then they, there's so many rib teams that they put a few of them over into the hog section.
That's right.
Which is real fun for judging, and judges and lost judges, which is always our
bleed over is.
The little bleed over there.
You always have one judge that gets lost, right?
We've had it every year, and we try to do our best. And competition teams, I hope you understand that we do our best every year to make it really clear where to go, how to, what time you're supposed to be there, and all that stuff. And we really stress being on time because, like we tell our judges, I mean, if you're 5 minutes late, you set the whole contest back an hour, and it doesn't take much.
Golly.
That's why by the time ribs roll around, things are always starting to lag because it gets exponentially longer.
Well,
the lag.
The thing is too is our shoulder and our hog divisions are quite smaller usually, even this year compared to the rib division. I mean, so you've got twice the scorecards to deal with, twice the number of on-site judges, twice opportunities for people to get lost. And
so there you guys hear, you just heard it. If you're cooking shoulder or hog, you always wonder why it takes so darn long for all these for the finals to come out. Well, you just heard it. There's so many more rib teams, and it takes.
It was us poor little rib guys down there in North Memphis. One thing I was gonna say is how the difference in the amount of teams. So, how many less teams as it is from last year, or the last year we had it, or
okay. So this year we're down somewhere between 90 and 100 teams.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly, and a few of our spaces are hospitality spots, so they are still on the map, but it doesn't count. So we're down about 90 teams, which means we're substantially down on our entry counts this year.
Okay.
So finals should definitely be on time this year. Ribs should go a lot smoother, and all the ancillaries should be good too, because there's actually quite a few less than we normally get.
Does anyone get? I mean, if did anyone apply and get turned away?
I know we had some people on a wait list, as
Okay.
far as I know. And I think we had a couple of teams that were international teams that were still trying to make it,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to back out last month. We had the team from Japan that tried to make it over, and I don't think they could get it put together.
So in signing up, if you're a new team, I'll tell you this: when the app comes out in December and you want to get in Memphis in May, pay your money as soon as it's out.
Oh yeah, as soon as the app comes out, you need to get it turned in within a couple of days, and you need to send them a check.
Because you will get a little preference point for getting it in early, right?
Well, it is kind of a first come, first serve.
Yeah.
I mean, now they do hold some spots for previous champions, that sort of thing. You know,
Yeah.
there is a few spots that are guaranteed. We hold a spot for the mayor's team every year.
But in
Yeah.
general,
But in general, no, it's pretty much first come, first serve. And if you get it turned in, you
Yep.
know, your likelihood of getting selected is much higher.
so you heard it. If you had never cooked, I've had people always ask me a lot, man, how do I get to go cook at Memphis in May? And my answer is pay your money and pay it as soon as humanly possible.
Yep. Yeah, that's it, man. You just got to stay on top of it and keep watching. You know, honestly, I tell people, whether you're interested in judging, cooking, anything to do with the event at all, start watching Memphis in May's website and social media channels in August.
Yep.
Because that's when we put out the yearly judging class. So if you want to get the opportunity to judge, we usually do that in November. We did that in March this year. But so we put out the info for that, and that usually fills up quick. Normally, we only take about 100 a year. This year, we did half of that.
Yeah.
And then so all of your judges are certified.
Oh, yeah.
And they get invited, and all, and you know you actually got to pay to come judge Memphis in May.
Yeah, I believe it's like $75, and of
Mhm.
course you get a goodie bag and an apron, and the best thing, like I said, you get to judge the world championship. You know, and then we pick 4 lucky ones to be our finals judges, and
So if you're not sure how it works, it's a pork contest, right? There's other side contests, but it's pork, and the main categories are shoulder, whole hog, and ribs. You got to pick one of those categories to enter. Your strong suit, and they lay that park out according to shoulders on the south, hogs in the middle, ribs on the north. So you have to decide what you want to cook, get your money in early, first and foremost. Then there's a different size booth to pick. You got to decide what size booth you want.
yeah, and that's where the money comes in. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So we've got this year we've got a bunch of different booth sizes, like we always do. They range from 15 by 25 all the way up to 34 by 54. Oh, that was the older ones. Now they're actually 150% bigger this year for social distancing. So they're a little bit larger. The interesting thing this year is that we have capacity limits that are in place. Our largest booth is 75. Normally that's substantially larger than that, which is it's given to us by code enforcement. Normally, based on the square footage of the building, that sort of thing. But I can say normally it's at least a couple hundred people.
Yeah, I think we're in this 30 by 52.
Yep.
And a max of 43.
Yeah, 43. And then the smallest one is 15 people. So it's one of them ones where you gotta know who's on your team, and you gotta keep it tight for that one.
Yeah, it's the thing. It's up to the team to police how many people are in your site and for social distancing, and they're going to be watching that stuff. So this year's that's what's a little bit different in picking your booth size and then what's going to go on. A lot of teams they schedule hospitality cooks and they entertain, and they use that as a lot of them use it as a means to support their expense at Memphis in May. And this year, that's hard to do with given these guidelines. I mean,
oh yeah, I mean when you can only fit 75 people in your booth, I know a lot of the teams that cater. I mean they're normally doing 150, 200 people a night at least.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them do substantially more than that or do more than that. I know we've had several teams that backed out because they couldn't get their corporate sponsors in.
Yep.
So we had quite a few teams that have been there for years and years that just aren't cooking this year, and we totally get it. We understand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can't entertain and bring the revenue in to afford it, that's it's a big check to write for yourself out of your own pocketbook. I'll say that.
And that check, y'all, is when you send your app in, you got to send that check in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say off the top of my head, our site was somewhere in our first check we sent in with our entry somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,900, and we don't have the biggest spot.
Yeah. I got a question that goes along with that. Jim Hudgens says, what is the cheapest you can get away with as far as entry fees go?
Well, entry fees is the size of your spot.
Yeah, it's based on the size
right.
of the spot. I don't have the specifics on that, and it varies from year to year. Normally,
so
I
next year
would
it's
say,
gonna be totally
oh,
different.
it will be
yeah.
totally different.
Well, we're not going to be in the park next year either.
No, we're not going to be in Tom Lee, and we don't know where we're going to be yet.
Okay.
So please,
So
no
it could
questions
be in
on
your
that.
backyard. You just sign up, and we'll see what happens.
That's it. But
Virtual Memphis in May.
virtual.
well, that I can tell you, we're not going to do.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, we'll be somewhere next year, and we're going to come back full strength, and we're going to try and put on the big party like we always do. But I'll say this: if the patio division comes back,
yeah,
that is the cheapest way to get into Memphis in
that's
May.
right.
Whether you're a new cook or you're kind of a seasoned cook and just want to take a shot at doing something down there, the patio division is a great way to get in, and it's quite a bit cheaper.
And let's tell you the difference in that. I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking about patio division. You have the championship division, which is shoulder, whole hog, and ribs. And the way that's judged is you turn in a box. They call it a blind box because it's judged blindly where you don't know whose it is. You turn that in 15 minutes prior to your turn in time. And then after that, you have 3 judges that will come to your site. One they'll say for 15 minutes, you get a 5-minute break. You get another one for 15 minutes, 5-minute break, and another 15 minutes. They combine the blind score with the on-site score, and then they tell you who the top 3 in each category is. After that, it's kind of cool. They wipe the slate clean, and those 9 teams between the top 3 in shoulder, hog, and rib go on to a whole new contest. Mm-hmm. And they compete against the shoulders are competing against the ribs and the hogs and vice versa. So they're competing against overall grand champ honors and then sorting out that pecking order between first, second, and third. So if you want to cook patio, a little different. It's a much smaller spot. You cook ribs only, and you turn in a box. And you turn in a blind box with ribs, just like you normally would if you're in the champ rib division. However, they judge just that box. And then when they judge that box, they'll pass out finals to the top 3. And then you have 4 judges that come and judge you on site. So it's a little different. Just one round of on-site judging for just ribs only for the patio. And it's substantially cheaper.
It is. It is substantially cheaper. But I will say this, the quality of cooks in the patio division.
No, they're
there. They are some really good cooks. Those boxes look just as good as the pro boxes every year. All so right. If you're thinking it's easy.
Is the patio division set up like where if you do so good in that you can't compete in that anymore?
So the way we've always done it previously is the whoever wins the patio division has to move up.
Yeah,
the next
that's what
year.
I thought. Okay. I've got 2 questions
Sure.
online. What time do spectators have to be out of the park this year?
Well, here, let me find that page again. Let's see. 10 on Wednesday, 11 on Thursday and Friday, and then 10 on Saturday.
Okay. All right. And then will there be supply vendors there also, or just food vendors? From Robert Collins.
Kroger, isn't it?
Well, Kroger is not going to be there this year. We've got there's a couple of vendors that are going to be on site. Of course, you can get more beer and anything anytime you need it. They'll have kegs and cases and all that good stuff. I think there was another vendor that they've got who will have some basic supplies, but I think it was all pre-ordered.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But I know Kroger was supposed to be there, but I don't think that they are corporately allowed to go out to events like this yet, which is the same reason we had several other sponsors that normally come and put on quite a show and do some things that their corporations aren't allowing them to come.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just like any other place that's not letting you, send out representatives or whatever.
Yeah. But any of that information that we're talking about and any information, you can download this team manual right here on Memphis in May's website, memphisinmay.org. There's a link to it. You can download it to your phone. I highly suggest looking at it because it's got everything in it.
Eric Hodson wants to know from Boys Night Out, wants to know where is the Pronto Pup stand going to be?
Right across from the judges' tent, like it always is.
That is key.
It is key. You don't know how many times, everybody's like, oh, man, ain't you going to go get some barbecue or something? No, dude, I'm going to get a Pronto Pup. I was at a fair last week in Kennett, Missouri at a contest up there, and they had a corn dog stand. And I realized that there's not the same thing.
No.
There's no such thing. It is not a Pronto Pup. So shout out to the Pronto Pup.
All right, I have to tell y'all a story about a Pronto Pup. You get tired of eating seeing barbecue, of course, down there. I know that's hard for people to believe, but you get tired of seeing barbecue. So in the morning, once the Pronto Pup stand opens, we'd fry up some eggs on the skillet. Not fry up some eggs, scramble some eggs in a skillet. Split that pronto
Come
pup
on.
right down the middle, and then throw
Yeah.
you some scrambled eggs on top of it.
Good Lord.
And that was a little Southport special right there.
I reckon.
So y'all need to try that this year.
I'm down with that.
Somebody just needs to scramble me some eggs.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Marcio says, "Will there be a taco truck there?"
Man, I don't know. Come on, Marcio. I wouldn't doubt. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it.
How about a shrimp sandwich? Gary Castillo said.
I don't know what all vendors are going to be there, but I'm pretty sure Pronto Pup is, and that's really all I care about. So
that and that corn. That's pretty good.
Stuff. Shucks.
Shucks. All shucks. Yeah.
No, there'll be some good food that's for sale. I mean, like I said, you can tell even the competition guys are going down there and getting it. So there'll be plenty of stuff to eat. And of course, you're not too far from Beale Street and everything else. If you want to take a break or walk up and get you a soul burger.
Gus's ain't far.
Gus's ain't far.
Soul burger.
Sir Burger at Ernestine and Hazel.
Can you still get a soul? The Ernestine and Hazel's not closed?
No, they're back open again.
Cool.
Really?
Yep, they're back open under new ownership.
The arcade, go by there. And
get
sweet potato pancakes.
Sweet potato pancakes.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of other foods, I always had this deal like that you wanted anything but barbecue after you got through with Memphis in May. What is y'all's go-to meal? Like after Memphis in May, what's the first thing you want to eat after Memphis in May?
Oh
man, what I want to or what I actually eat?
What
two different things.
Yeah. Do you feel like eating first of all, and then what was your go? What was your go-to meal usually?
Recently, it's probably been we kind of been staying downtown at a condo or something downtown. So recently, it seems like it's always been mob downtown the past few years when we get out.
Yeah.
Because it's Saturday night and it's just going crazy. And I think we've been to Huey's a few times.
Yeah.
And I got to be careful. I think guys, you go up and down that hill a few times and you spend 4 days down there on your feet.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be careful. After you eat, I'm out. I mean, I'd have trouble getting out of the chair from the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. We just try to go find a good Mexican place. There's Happy Mexican down there.
Yes.
Nice margarita because we're so happy to be done with this whole thing.
Yeah.
So Mexican is a good option.
Usually after barbecue, I want either it was South Haven Spring Fest we did a lot or Memphis in May. That first meal I wanted after I got home was usually pizza or Chinese food.
Those are in the works too.
Oh, yeah.
Those are right up there.
Oh, you wanted some egg drop soup, kind of give you that protein back, and felt like you kind of
that's right
get the
there.
feeling better.
Big old fat sushi roll.
Yeah.
I like a good salad, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the real hot ones, man. I go get a good salad.
Yeah.
Nice big tall glass of water. You don't realize how dehydrated you get.
Oh, no doubt. All right. You said the hot ones. Let's look at the weather forecast.
Oh man, why are you looking?
I know I'm probably ruining. I'm probably messing it all up right now, aren't I? So Wednesday, the high. We're gonna say Wednesday is the first official day of May. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the first day it's open.
High
cooks meetings, all that stuff.
High of 66 on Wednesday, 71 on Thursday, 75 on Friday, and 79 on Saturday.
What about the percent chance of rain?
You got nothing higher than a 30% chance.
That's a pretty darn good deal.
Man, we'll take that. If it's anywhere close to that, I'll be.
You got a hot and cloudy 81 degrees on load out Sunday. So
it could be a lot worse. That's
for sure. That's right. It's been 100 down there. Felt like it anyway.
I tell you, we've had everything you can imagine over the last few years. I know we've had torrential downpours, and I know we had a park evacuation in 19 during awards.
That was nuts.
Because that was the craziest storm. I got stuck in the park and couldn't get out. We were sitting in our trailer. I'm watching stuff fly by, porta johns and things like that, and I'm going, man, I'm glad everybody got out of here. This thing was bad, you know. So when they tell you to get out for your own safety down there, there's a pretty good reason, you know. I mean, there was another year where a couple of booths actually collapsed and stuff like that. So. Wow. The weather is completely unpredictable. We always tell our volunteers to bring enough clothes for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Comfortable shoes that you don't mind getting dirty, and because no matter what, it's going to be dirty down there. So
Yeah. If you're going down there to cook too, y'all, I mean, talking about the weather here, usually the Memphis May Music Fest is 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
And Music Fest is a huge deal, and it's usually raining. And this is a grass park, and there's a lot of heavy equipment going in and out of it, and it gets rutted up and it gets muddy. And then when all that's over, they got to bring these trucks back on this wet stuff,
Yeah.
and then they rut it all up, getting all that stuff out of there. And then it turns around a week later, and you got to drag all the stuff back in for barbecue festival.
Yep.
And it's a muddy, nasty mess. This year, we're lucky that Music Fest didn't happen for barbecue. It's lucky, but normally, if you're going to go and compete at this, because of that, you got to plan on having a floor and a tent. So
Oh, yeah.
you don't have you
Yeah.
got to have a floor because you don't know what your ground's going to be like. I mean, we're kind of been in the same spot every year, and we know we're in a little high spot, what direction it drains, and we know where the water is going to be, and we've been there, so we kind of know the lay of the land. But if you've never been where you're going to get set up, you could be down in a drain where the water collects. You could be where the water drains off and rushes through. So think about that. You're going to make sure you have to have a good floor, and it has to be approved.
It's got to be approved by the code enforcement. Anything that you build in the park has to be approved by the code enforcement and the fire inspectors.
They're going to look at it. If you haven't rented it and you don't have a rental slip and there's not a tag in there that says it's not fire retardant, no, ain't going to happen.
Yeah, they do check all the tents. You can't use a vendor aside of Mahaffey tents.
Right.
From going forward, as far as I know, to get anything into the park. There's a couple scaffold vendors that they allow in the park, but they don't allow everybody in either.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to use all the approved stuff, and that's, like I said, that's a lot of where your expense comes in that you don't see on the front end. Especially this year. I mean, if you're building a plywood floor, I feel sorry for you.
Might as well go in and rent that floor.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hot on the floor this year.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is.
Marcio said the weather was kind of ugly in 2019, which was the last.
Yeah, it was. That was the year where we had to cut awards short,
Mhm.
and we had to evacuate the park immediately after.
Yeah.
And we've had several other instances.
Dusty was still celebrating.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
We've got the reigning world whole hog champion here
We
in
do.
the house today with
We
us.
do. Doing our floor with pallets and 3/4 inch plywood, is that approved?
Yeah, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, look,
That's
it doesn't matter necessarily what you put down as far as your floor goes. They're not, as long as it's not unsafe. Essentially, is what it boils down to, and that you don't do anything that makes the fire department angry.
I got you.
You just have to.
Tent's the biggest.
The
thing.
tent is the biggest thing that they're looking for.
Fire
And
extinguisher.
fire extinguishers, you got to have those. And if you have any kind of raised platform or anything, there's certain specs that you have to follow, which are in the team manual.
And
as
it's
well.
mainly just for stabilities in case people are on it doesn't fall.
Right, exactly. And you can't have scaffolds over a certain height. There's a certain height that the floor can't be for the lowest level, and then the second level can't be above another certain height. But that's why they make you use the scaffold vendors that are familiar with that kind of stuff. So it makes your life a lot easier.
If you hadn't been, I mean, you may go to Houston or to American Roll, all these places that are on asphalt. And if you've never been, and it's hard to just think about all that little detail of having a floor and having approved tents and all that. But you see a lot of trailers at Memphis in May. When you go around all these other contests, you see a lot of RVs. And what I mean by RV is something with a motor and a gas tank.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. You're not going to see that here.
No.
That is a no-no. So anything that has a motor or a gas tank, if you want to bring that in, you got to drain all the gas out of it, and you got to bring the fire department over and show them that it's been drained. Stuff something in to the gas tank, and then zip tie it off and get it approved. And the fire marshal has to come and look at it and tell you it's okay.
I had no idea of that. So you can't anything with a motor.
Can't run it.
RV.
You can't use generators or anything like that in the park.
Wow.
And we brought the OBR hot shot in there one year. We brought it up there to show it off and all that kind of stuff. And we had a bunch of stuff to keep cold and used it for storage. And it was here and it was nice to have. But when we brought it down there, we knew up front because we'd seen other people bring in buses and have to drain them, and we had to go in with just enough gas, just barely to get in there, and then we had to drain the fuel out of the tank. And we had to go and turn on the key and show the guy, and show him the gas that I took out of it, and stuff a rag in there and tape it off where you couldn't get anything on where you could run it, for him to say okay.
Yep.
So think
Wow.
about that. If you're going to bring RVs, especially RVs that have built-in generators, you got to drain it. You got to show them. You got to be prepared for all that.
Yeah, you don't really see that at Memphis and May at all.
No.
Really, you really don't. I think most everybody's kind of over the years determined it's just not worth that trouble.
But a new guy, they may
Yeah,
not
a new guy might not know, and there's not a whole lot of RV spots to where if you want to drive your RV and stay, super close to the park. Really, I mean,
across the river.
you got to go across the river pretty much. So it's not necessarily RV friendly per se.
Marshall said, "Good to know."
Yeah, so that's something to think about in the RV world there too. I mean, getting your money in first, get it in early, decide on your spot. You can add things later on at the team meeting. There's usually one somewhere in the neighborhood of the third Sunday of April.
It's normally second Sunday in April.
Second Sunday in April.
Yeah, it's always a Toka barbecue weekend. That's how we know it around here.
So you can go to the team meeting. You can pay for your porta johns if you want them. You pay for your electrical. You can pay for an ice merchandiser to keep things cold. You can add ancillaries if you want.
Yep.
There's just a lot of final things you can add. You've got to have an insurance policy, and you can get that at that time. So there's a few things that if you've never been, you should go to the team meeting just to get all those things lined out. And they have a checklist, which is nice, especially for ADHD folks like myself, that you can check the box and the date that you did it.
Yeah.
That's nice. They really think about the teams and making sure they don't mess up.
All right. Well, since it is Memphis in May week, we are highlighting the product of the 4-time Memphis in May world champion, Sweet Swine of Mine's own Sweet Rub of Mine by Mark Lambert. So this week's product of the week is Sweet Rub of Mine. You can pick this up. Use say you saw it on Old School with Mark and Ashley. You get 15% off anytime this week. And we'll let that run for 2 weeks.
No doubt.
Since next week, we're going to be live on the ground at Tom Lee Park. And so we'll be able to show you all the sights and sounds and characters of Memphis in May. So
Yep. It's a fun time. We kind of dread it leading up to a little bit, but then when it gets here, we're all happy and fun and in
it's
the
like
moment.
a big family reunion, isn't it?
Yeah, once you get there and you get down there, it's just it is euphoric because you see so many people that you don't get to see normally, and you're just in your own little world. And then about Saturday afternoon, you just can't wait to get out of there and get home, get a shower, and get in your own bed.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now, explain, say we are going to see a lot of people we hadn't seen in a while. Is there any rules about mask, like in somebody else's tent, or just briefly go? I know there's a lot to that, but briefly.
Yeah, there is a lot to it. There is a whole COVID policy for Memphis in May this year. If you want to go further in detail, you can get it at memphisinmay.org as well.
Yeah.
So they've got that on there. But the way
the dang pig has a mask on him on the flyer.
Yeah, they're pushing it.
So, they are. And as far as I know, the way we're going to do it is this: when you're in the common area, which means anywhere where you're walking around outside of your booth in the park, when you're going around to visit your buddies, you got to have your mask on.
Okay.
You're going to have to wear your mask anytime where social distancing is not possible, to where, like, if you're in a line somewhere or something, you're going to have to wear a mask.
You're at awards.
You're going to have to wear a mask, that kind of thing. It's pretty much the same kind of stuff we've been doing. You just have to imagine it as just a big business, essentially. Yeah. And, it's no different than having to put your mask on to go to Kroger or anything like that. It's just for a longer time. There's going to be enforcement of it. They've got a whole division of people that they've hired to handle that. I highly suggest being nice to those people. If they tell you to put your mask on or anything like that, now's not the time or the place to do that, because they'll kindly remove you from the park.
And it's going to really mess up your week.
It's going to mess up your week. And look, I don't think anybody, wanted it to be exactly like it has to be for this, but it is, you know. But we're just all glad that we're actually going to be able to have it and do something out in public, have a good, nice, big party like this, and get out and cook some barbecue. You know,
This has really been the first mainstream barbecue contest that's been able to go on since the pandemic has started, right?
yeah, one of the it's as far as I know. I mean, yeah, I'd
We
say,
got the state world championship. That's about it.
and
But I mean in barbecue.
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah,
barbecue.
yeah. I mean,
Which, speaking of which, this is a SCA World Championship finalist right here.
well,
Uh,
we had a good cook down there in Fort Worth. I guess they like my stuff in Texas this year. We always have a good time down there.
Yeah.
Generally, they like my stuff in Texas. I like going there too.
I enjoy it down there. It's a great time. That's a great group of people. If you're not involved with that, I highly suggest getting out and
Yeah.
going and cooking a steak. It's a fun way to get out and meet a lot of people and have a good time.
Yeah.
So plan on a couple different things. We talked about the floor. You don't have to cover your entire space.
No.
Think about the size of your space, the size of your trailer. Take those out of your equation. Do yourself a favor and draw it out on a piece of. I mean, really, if you use some scaled,
We always took a piece of grid
Scale
paper, grid paper, and
draw it out.
drew it out to scale, and you knew how big your spot was and how big your cooker is, and porta johns, and
Yeah.
whatever you had. We always laid it out in that space to see how it was going to look.
You're going to need some space up front. You're going to need a little fence across the front of it.
Yeah.
You don't always need it down the sides. We like to have a tent with some bigger sides with like 10-foot legs, and we put sides on it where we can drop the sides down if we need to. But we generally have a fence across the front with an opening so you can control entrance and exit to the area, and somebody stays there and watches it. And this year, that's even more important than ever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So think about the size of your tent, size of your floor, and don't try to use that whole space during judging. So something to think about. You got a big space. It's going to be typically filled with people, trash. I mean, lots of traffic. And it's going to get dirty. So think about come Saturday morning, everybody's tired, and it comes time to clean everything up and get it all pretty for presentation. So try to pare that down with either some tent walls or another tent inside there that you can clean up and organize as small of a spot within that side as you can.
Yeah.
Because you're judged on what the judge can see, not what he can't see.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, the way we instruct the judges there is that it's items that the team can control.
Yep.
So that's like you said, we always say it's beer cans, cigarette butts, and your drunk uncle on the couch over there passed out.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be sure to do that. We're not going to tell them if there's water running through your booth. There's nothing you can do about that.
Most of the time they'd say, like, if it was bad weather that morning or during or whatever, they'd say knees up.
Yeah,
They're judging you from knees up.
Yeah, and we make that call the morning of. I do a ride around the park that morning. I look for mud. I look at the conditions of the booths and that sort of stuff, and we make the call whether it's going to be ankles, knees, waist. We had chin one year. We said if they don't have something on their face, you cannot mark them down for their sight. Okay.
Good
Yeah.
Lord.
But it was one of those years where it had rained for 2 days straight, and it was raining during judging. So I mean, there's nothing you can do. We told them just please, guys, take it easy on the teams if they don't have something on their face.
At South Haven, we gave a presentation during a hailstorm one time, and it's when you're sitting there having to yell at a judge and tell them how you cooked a rib. That's always fun.
We did it at the Lakeland Fun Fest one year when it was at the Agri
Not
Center.
so fun.
Yeah, Heat Fest or whatever.
Heat Fest.
It was blowing so hard that we had someone hanging off every corner of a 10 by 10 10 by 10 tent where the judge was, just hanging on to keep the tent from blowing away. So
well, it's a rain or shine event at Memphis in May too.
That's right.
We always tell people that it's rain or shine. Now, I mean, if there's lightning around, we might go into a delay. And as a team, that's something you need to know the process for that. If anything happens and we do go into a delay, the head cook and the team contact get a text message or an alert through the LiveSafe app. Which, if you're in the park at Memphis in May next week, you need to download that LiveSafe app
Okay.
and join the Memphis MA group. There's instructions on how to do that on the website as well, and a link to get on to find the thing for your phone. But what that does is it's any official communication from Memphis MA. So that's park closures, openings, if we have any kind of emergency situation or anything like that.
Live safe.
Live safe.
Okay.
And that's, like I said, and any communication like that comes out officially from Memphis MA, that'll be where you get it directly and the fastest.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if anything happens, or if there's any kind of delays in the contest, which we had that happen a couple of years ago, where we had a 3-hour delay, and then we did a reset, and we started taking entries again.
Wow.
But we communicated that to your ambassador. So get to know your ambassador if you're a team. If you don't know who your ambassador is, come to the judges tent. We will help you find out who they are.
And feed those folks.
And take care of
volunteering.
Yeah, I will say that our ambassadors and all of the volunteers in the park, they put in hours and hours of hard work down there every year. The contest doesn't happen without the volunteers.
And why? Because they love it.
Yeah, everybody does it because they love it. Everybody's got their own reason, you know. And the whole volunteer family down there, it's just like the barbecue family. It's a whole group of people that know each other. They look after each other and do everything they can to make sure everything gets done. Because the most important thing to everybody who's down there is that we put on the best contest that we can every year. And everybody takes a lot of pride in that. And I think you see it when you interact with at least with your ambassadors and the judging people, for sure.
We're gonna if Dusty wants to come over, we need to come on over, Dusty. We're gonna talk about the thrill of victory for a minute, because I haven't experienced this personally at Memphis MA, but we're talking two people that I know have. Dusty, you're the reigning hog world champion. We didn't have a contest in 2020. You won it all in 2019.
First team ever to be back to back.
Yeah.
Melissa might have one.
She might have.
Yeah. So tell us what that feels like from really, I don't mean to be out of nowhere, but out of nowhere.
It was.
I mean,
it was.
You knew you made finals, so there was a shot there.
Right.
But
and this the way this works, guys, you guys, after your third judge, they have to take all the scores back, and they got to combine on-site and blind scores, and then there's going to be probably an hour and a half delay at least,
give or take a little bit. We try to get finals out as fast as possible.
But that's about as fast as possible.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, because like I said, you've got to deal with, by the time after your last judge leaves your booth, they come back, and then it takes us at least an hour to key all those scores.
Sure. And then you got to assimilate the finals cards, and you got to you get somebody to go out and notify the teams.
Yeah.
And then when you get the notification, I mean, that's like.
So yeah, when they put that banner, hold on, make sure he's being heard over there.
Here, hold on that.
All right, so when they put that banner or that sign in front of your booth, what does that feel like?
We all cried like babies.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna. I'm gonna no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will say that it was a team effort. I don't want to ever say that I'm the world champion or anything like that. It was a team effort. I mean, we had a great team, and we literally just kind of a little background. We've only done 3 NBN competitions prior to that, and Hank Vaden and Michael Hosley helped us out tremendously. They're the ones that really got us into hog competitions. But we had an opportunity with some guys that basically sponsored us to go up there. We used the backyard stuff, so we said we'd give it a shot. And we got up there and we said, if we walk the stage, it's a blessing, or the top 15 was a blessing. And then, we got the card showing we're in the top 3. And I said, we got 3rd place, fellas. And I mean, it's,
we're
blessed.
happy with it. We're totally happy with it. Yeah.
We're happy.
So, it was y'all, Steamboat, and who else?
It was Smoke Masters.
Smoke Masters, that's right.
I think we beat them by 1/100th of a point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The scoring's always tight.
You beat Smoke Masters by 1/100.
Yeah, and they're good cooks.
Okay, so when did it sink in? When they called out 3rd place and it wasn't y'all?
Then I thought we got 2nd place.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy. We were blessed. We were absolutely blessed. I mean, we were like I said, just to be in that top three. We were just so excited just to be there. So it was. I tell you, it's just a total blessing. That's all it was. It was. You know, you almost want to say a miracle, but but we've got good. I've had good mentors.
83 Olympics, or
Pretty
what
much,
was it? 81, 83 Olympics, whatever.
Exactly.
What year was that? 81 Olympics? Hockey?
80.
Yeah. USA? 80? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I knew it was in the 80s.
But we had a good team that was, put together. We had Noel Grafe and Will Gottenberg built a beautiful box. And Marcia, which y'all know, Marcia was on our team. And Dustin Stanford and Scott Carroll and Guy they literally shaved 5 years off of our Memphis in May because they helped us so much with our presentation. And they've been there, and it's good to take advice from good veterans. I mean, Mark helped us tremendously too, kind of build it too, because we knew nothing going into this, and we just said we're going to give our best foot forward and try to be humble and professional. And Lord blessed us that day.
He blessed you all the way to the.
But he did mess us up for the after the awards. That storm you were talking about earlier was horrible.
Yeah. You're gonna celebrate. Let's not celebrate here.
They were cutting it off. They knew it was coming. I mean, like they called out 10th place, 9th place, 8th place shoulder, and then that was all of them they called out. They go, we're not calling any more out. We're going to do top 3, and they were like.
Well, I want to hear my name, Jack.
I tell you, look, as somebody who sees all that stuff behind the scenes, that was a really tough call for us to make.
Sure. Oh, I
know. And it was one of those things where, when you're dodging weather and you're looking at things, and the MC's the weatherman.
Yeah, there was a countdown. They knew it was going to hit.
We had it down to the minute, and then all of a sudden it moved faster. Mm-hmm. And we got a call on stage and was like, hey, and and that's why sometimes when you're putting on a big outdoor large thing like that, and you're at the mercy of whatever God throws at you, coming across the river especially. I mean, you never know.
It changes when it hits that river.
It does.
It totally changes.
It does. But like I said, to cut it off like we did, we hated to do it. We always want to give everybody their due on the stage, and I think that's a lot of the big part of it is get to walk the stage and get to go back and take a picture with your team behind the stage, all that good stuff. And,
all right, Lambo, you were 4-time world champion. Dusty, thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother. Lambo, you were 4-time world champion at Memphis in May, as Eric Hodson would say. Is there once, like 2005, 2008, 2009, and 2013, is there any one that's kind of like sticks out in your mind that was sweeter than the other?
Man, I'm going to say,
or that you struggled more or something?
Let's get this. I'm going to make sure this is clear. He says 4 times world champion. This is a port category, and there's shoulder, hog, and ribs, right? So when we say world champion, if you win first place in a category, you are a world champion of that division.
That's right.
Now, you can also go on to beat the hogs and the ribs.
Grand. Now, you're a 2-time grand champion.
Grand champion.
Grand world champion.
That means you had the highest score of any of the other finalists.
That's right.
So that's what I would say. The first time we won it in 2009, grand champion. We went up against what folks would say maybe not some of the classic long time heavy hard hitters.
Yeah.
Some of the other guys in it were new in it and just like we were.
Yeah. And
so when we won that time, I don't think we were given a whole lot of credit as far as what we did in the shoulder division, so to speak. There were some other teams in some of the other divisions that had been around a little bit, but in 2013, when we won first, we went up against some of the guys that had won it multiple times in the past.
Yeah.
So I think to come out on top then, to us, was just kind of one of those, how about them apples?
Yeah. Like, hey, we did it then, but we did it again. I mean, we did it again.
We did it, and look who was there with us. So that was, to me, was what was so extra special, was that we won it, and we won it against the best in the world, people that had done it multiple times before us. So that kind of little validation, we won it, and we won it even harder against some harder competition.
Now, coming from the rib category for me, I always heard that it was harder to grand champion in ribs. You know, first of all, winning in ribs, you know, as a world champion in ribs was a big thing because at the size field it was.
Yeah.
You know, would you say shoulder is kind of like that second hardest division to grand champion in, or
well, it's actually probably one of the easiest ones to grand champion in by history.
Oh,
if
really?
you look at history. Now, if you look at ribs, last time rib won grand champion was what, 98?
No, I think it was like 92.
92.
It's been a long time.
I thought Kevin Tackett did it.
No, it's been a long.
No, he just won. He won ribs.
Well, and then you've got, you know, Mark West is won 3 in a row now.
3 in a row.
I mean, that's incredible right there to do that. Because listen, I mean, you're talking about it's sheer odds.
Yep.
To even get in finals down there, no matter what division you're in,
and
come out on top. That's incredible.
Because there's usually over 100 rib teams.
Well,
right?
Normally there's about 130.
That's right.
Rib teams, give or take a few. You know. Normally we're at about 55 shoulders, give or take a few either way, and then about 35, 40 hogs, you know, one way or the other. So, I mean, if you look at statistics, if you're a statistics guy, obviously you'd say, oh, hog's the way to go, you know?
Yeah. But it's a lot of...
Have fun playing in that one, right?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Right.
And some of the biggest hitters in the game is in whole hog.
Well, look, there's not a single easy shot to a grand championship at Memphis in May. It doesn't matter what division you pick. It doesn't matter. You've got to beat the best of the best, or who's got the best stuff that day. It was really who you beat. I mean, it may not be the quote best of the best, but it's who had the best stuff that day. They got there for a reason.
Yeah, there's some strategy in this, y'all. I mean, you think about if you're going to cook in the shoulder division, you got to have. Personally, to me, there's about 8 perfect pieces that I like to give a judge in each shoulder. So I like to have 4 shoulders just to build my blind box.
Oh, yeah.
At least 4. And then 1 just to have extra, just in case I don't like the flavor of it or something happens to it, it gets dry or whatever. So you got 4 whole shoulders. Those things are like 20 pounds a piece. So then you've got to have 3 more just for your on-site judges. So you got to have 1 whole shoulder for each judge. You're up to 7 whole shoulders right there just to start out. And then you got to have some for finals. So you really need to have at least 2 for finals. You're up to 9, is what I call it as a minimum.
Yeah. That I'd say that is the minimum. Most everybody you talk to.
I was fixing to ask you how many shoulders would you cook?
I'm cooking 12.
You're cooking 12.
I've heard that number from a lot of people. That's
because you're cooking 12.
Well, you said. I mean, you've got no room for error in the judging. Because if you turn in anything that's subpar, you're not gonna get a call.
I ordered 12 shoulders, and that's if there's all 12 are good, if they're right. And I'm not going to
stagger any of those.
I only stagger based on the cooker. The cooker that I use it's hotter at the top and cooler at the bottom. So I'll stagger it by leaving 1 at the bottom a little more than the rest, and so I'll have 3 on the bottom that are lower in temperature. The same amount of time, but they're going to be running behind.
Yeah, excellent.
And it's not as important in shoulder and hog as it is in rib to do that. So think about this: a 20-pound shoulder, a 150-pound hog is a lot easier to hold from the time you finish your last on-site judge to the time you hear about finals and have to do something else. It holds a lot of heat. It's a bigger piece of meat. You don't need as many, so it's a little more forgiving. Is a way to put it.
Ribs we had to stagger.
You got to. What he's meaning is you got to put some on for blind for your first turn-in box. Then you got to have some that you need running a little bit later behind for your on-site.
Yeah.
And then you got to have some that are a little way on a bit later, just in case you make finals.
Just in case.
Because if you don't stagger those ribs and have a few that are hanging behind, if you've ever had ribs that have been hanging out in the box for 3 hours. They ain't near about as good as
you might as well turn in pronto pups and get third.
I was about to say, just take third and smile your way up there to get your check, right?
Yeah, and I mean, think about that time when we had to evacuate the park and it reset for 3 hours in the rib division. I mean, good Lord, I couldn't imagine.
And look, we hope that we don't have anything like that this year, obviously. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it could happen at any point. I mean,
if you didn't stagger then, you was definitely out of the running.
Yep,
So having a little staggered in there, meaning putting stuff on, planning on making finals. If you don't plan on it, you're definitely not going to be there. And what I mean, I'll give you an example. You know, we've planned and we've done well. We turn in our boxes. We have good on-site judges, and we're confident, right? We come in, we're confident. If the shoulders were there, we had good judges. I feel like we got good scores. We're confident. So then we're moving around, we're cleaning, we're straightening up, we're washing our dishes, we're sweeping. Everybody's, taking a quick breather, resetting, and getting ready for finals, right?
Yeah.
That's what you have to immediately start preparing and getting ready and get your head right for finals.
You can't celebrate too long.
No.
I mean, you can't celebrate.
Get it out of the way and get ready.
Yeah.
Now, I've done that, and then we've won.
Yeah.
Now, what I've also done is after on-site and preliminaries is go, it just ain't there. And everybody just, you weren't happy with the product. It didn't taste good. It just, it ain't our year, boys. I mean, it's just, boys and girls, we're going to hang out and enjoy the rest of the day and hope some of our friends make it. We can root for them.
That's right.
And so you let your guard down a little bit, and then you sit around. You don't prepare. You leave your shoulders in the Cambro. You don't reglaze. You don't clean up. And you throw a beer in your pocket, and you go easing down there to watch your buddies present ribs. And next thing you know, you get a phone call and you made finals. And then, guess what?
It sounds like this is happening. I'm not sure.
It ain't a good feeling, y'all. And
what year was this?
2015.
2015?
Yeah. And so I got a phone. I mean, my phone was ringing. That's kind of my normal. I'm going to go and I walk and I've got the phone in my pocket and they call me if we make finals. The first time we ever did, I've never been to the booth when they announced finals. Ever.
Really?
First time I wasn't there, and every time after you, they keep me out. I can't be there.
Don't mess with the mojo,
Don't mess
right?
with the mojo.
I was fixing to ask that. Does anybody have any, do you have any, superstition stuff?
Well, that's
you got
one
to do? That's one of them.
And I go get a piece of dirt in my first place spot and take it with me
All
wherever
right,
I go.
Dusty, you got any? I got my show. You got Yeah. So you hadn't built up any superstition yet. So you're gonna go get some dirt from your old spot.
It works. At least it does for a little while. So
yeah.
Do
you have a hat you wear or nothing like that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
And I got a cooker I use, and we got a profile and a process, but that's
about it. Nothing like a baseball player or something like that wear the same socks.
So I said one side of the coin. We've been ready. We won. And we've been confident. We went in. We kicked. We know we killed it, right?
Yeah.
And so we get a call, and we didn't prepare. And I'm a 10-minute walk up the park from my site.
Yeah. You're in North Park. Yeah.
They tell me that on site's in 20 minutes. And I had a 10-minute walk back.
Yeah.
So I'm, Fat Boy is running and huffing and puffing. By the time I get there, I wasn't in any shape to talk to the judge. And we get back and we get third.
Yeah.
You know why? Because we didn't reglaze. We didn't keep things hot as we should. We didn't restoke the fires. We didn't wash dishes. We didn't sweep the floor. We didn't have time to get our heads right. And we went into it with Tuffy Stone and somebody else. We went in first coming into finals and we're third.
Yeah.
Just because we weren't prepared.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You never know what's going to happen. You got to prepare for finals and act like you're going to make it.
Yeah. I think if you don't have that plan as a cook going in, you're setting yourself up to fail anyway.
You are. If you make it, and like me, I'll never forgive myself for not being prepared that time. I mean, I know it cost us at least a first place, possibly a grand championship.
Yeah.
It just, we weren't prepared, and man, it was a bad feeling. Just like, we were at Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo the first time, and our guy cooking the chicken didn't get the chicken cooked. He was late getting there, didn't get it on in time, and it just didn't get cooked. And come to find out, if we had had at least just a top 60 chicken, I think we'd have won the whole thing first time we ever cooked it.
Yeah.
And it, one little thing.
You look back at that and you're like, man, that's disappointing.
So it's you gotta be prepared. You gotta have your head right.
Yeah, you sure do. You gotta be prepared. These teams spend too much money not to be on top of their game. I mean, that kind of thing. So it's the stakes are very high. Yeah. Stakes are very high, and not to be world champion. To walk away and be world champion, that nobody can ever take that away from you. That's on the side of this bottle. That's in the record books.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's in these trophies above these rafters here. I mean, that's some good memories there. And wherever this contest is next year, besides Tom Lee Park, that tradition is going to move on, hopefully. And we're excited to be there next week.
So think about this, y'all. We talked a little bit about what to do. There's a load in and load out procedure that you really need if you're going to go cook. You got to pay special attention to.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like this venue that you can approach from four sides.
No.
There's one way in and one way out.
Yeah, you got to come in the
You
north
got to know
end of
your
this.
ramp.
You got to come in the south, go out the south end, and there's ramps. You got to know that if you don't know, somebody at that ramp's going to tell you where to turn.
And be patient, and don't be impatient with anybody. I guess is what you say. Like
Yeah. Be nice to the volunteers.
Be nice to the volunteers.
They're not getting paid. They're up there because they enjoy it.
And nobody is don't be in a hurry, to get loaded in or loaded out. Unloaded. It's no sense in getting upset. We're all there, and we all have to load in. We all have to unload. There's no sense in getting upset about it.
There's a load out procedure. If you've never done this, you don't know that you leave everything there Saturday and you come back Sunday morning. And you got a load in pass. You got to have that in your window when you drive in. You got a load out pass. You got to have that. It's the same pass. I'm sorry, but you got to have that pass there to get in and get out. And you generally have 2 passes per team. And the whole idea is that you get in as quickly as you can, have your stuff staged, get it loaded, and get on out. And keep the traffic moving because it's moving in one direction.
Just try and be organized when you're loading in. If you've got to, you've got to get this in your booth a certain way, get it down there and be ready to do that. And if you've got stuff loaded in the back of your truck, make it easy to unload and that kind of thing.
Have some helping hands waiting on you at your booth so you can get it unloaded as quick as possible.
Because you got to drive down a narrow path. There's not a lot of room to park. You can get off to the side barely enough, maybe, to another car can get by. Barely.
Depends on what time you're getting in and out.
Yeah. So, it's possible that you could be blocking 25, 30 cars behind you that are just half of them maybe is trying to get out.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you're trying to set your trailer or something like that, they do have the pork forkers. They come around on their fancy forklifts, and they can help you set your trailers, and those guys are really good.
Yeah, if it's got to get in there at a crazy angle and you just can't do it, park at your spot, call the port forker, and he'll hook it up with a ball and maneuver it in there with a tiller handle lift.
Yeah, and they'll get you took care of real quick. They'd rather do that than you hold up the rest of everybody behind you trying to get loaded in.
Your lovely wife gave us some numbers. This year, it's 75 rib teams, 34 shoulders, and 28 hogs.
That's right. I'm glad she remembered that.
That's right. Well,
I can't remember all these numbers.
That's what she's good
35
for. 35
shoulders, is what you said?
34 shoulders.
34.
Yeah,
so
28 hogs.
28 hogs. So like I said, our numbers are down this year, so it's going to be tight. There's a lot of really good teams. We're looking forward to getting down there and doing judging and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And I know you're going to be busy, but we might run into you and interview you next week on the show.
Sure,
but,
come on.
I mean, you might be neck deep in it. We don't know.
Well, as long as you don't come to me during the turn-in window.
Okay, yeah, you might.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to be. I'm not going to be there during then. So, and Mark's going to be busy. So,
and I'll say this: as far as if you're on a team or anything, if you have issues with your containers or anything like that, know the procedure. Know what to do. Be sure to. If you got a problem with anything that has to do with the contest itself, come to the judges' tent. If you can't get a hold of somebody, if you can't get your ambassador or anything like that, come to the judges' tent. Find us. We will get you sorted out. I know last year we were replacing sauce containers for teams like 3 minutes before the window opened.
Ooh,
so we're there to help. We'll do anything we can, within reason. But there's definitely going to be it's going to be tight this year on a lot of things. I know our turn-in procedure is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be one long line. We're still working.
A lot of people get a lot of access to see like on-site judging. They can see videos of that on YouTube.
Yeah.
They can kind of get, and you can watch a lot of that. But what a lot of people don't know what happens is in blind judging. Tell real quickly about the difference in blind judging Memphis and May versus KCBS or something, so that people get an idea of how many judges, how they score, what the procedure is. Because most people maybe they've seen KCBS or IBCA or something, but this is a different deal.
No, it's a completely different animal, and if you've never cooked it, or if you've never even cooked MBN, you wouldn't quite understand it. They're similar, but Memphis and May is its own animal. So the way blind judging works, you make your box at your booth the same way you normally do for any other contest, whether it be KCBS or whatever. Only difference is for us, there is no garnish allowed in our boxes on Saturday for the pork categories. So you put your pork in the box however you'd like, whatever is appealing to the eye for you, and you bring it to the judge's tent. We take it from you. We write a little code on it. It goes back to another set of tables.
And then here's the window difference. The window is 15 minutes prior to turn-in time to the hour. So if it's 10 o'clock, you're judging windows from 9:45 to 10.
Yep.
If you're KCBS, you're used to 10 before, 10 after.
Or 5 before, 5 after.
Right.
It is not the same thing. It is not the same. And no, listen,
that's right. It is 5.
Yeah, it's 5 before and 5 after. So, but with us, it's 15-minute window, but it's in the book. All the turn-in times, they end on the hour pretty much. And then your on-site starts concurrently as soon as that window closes pretty much. Right. So as far as the blind judging, once they get in, we get the entry in, we get it marked. It goes out to the table. We have 4 judges that are certified at each table. That's the ones who does the judging. Sometimes we have a VIP judge or something. Their scores do not count. Which is why we always tell people to put enough meat for 6 people in the box, just in case.
But 5 are actually scored.
Only 4.
4 are actually scored.
Yeah, only 4. Yeah. So you get 4 judges at each table. We start with a 10 on everything, and then we mark down for the things that you find wrong. That's what's different between us and any other sanctioning body.
You start out with a 10, like the teacher used to tell me. I started out with an A,
exactly,
and then I'm the one that messed it up.
Yeah, it's pretty much that's it. And what we tell the judges is we tell them to look for the little things, because there's no real bad pork down there. I mean,
that's right.
Everybody can cook a good product. You get 1 or 2 guys that get drunk and burn it up every year, but it's the majority of them are really good.
You wouldn't spend that money if you could.
Right. So it's all good. So we tell them to look for the little things. If one's a little more peppery to you or something, and or this or that or the other, it's whatever. Of course, it's just like any other time. It's whatever the judge likes as far as their flavor profile. Mm-hmm. That's on them.
Yeah.
We don't give us any suggestions. We don't give. There's not a standard like an SCA or something to where do you cook this to medium. We ask for appearance, that it be visually appealing, and do they want to eat it? I mean, that's really it as far as appearance goes. The other scores, texture, we don't tell them a specific texture for anything, because we don't want to influence them. We don't want to say, hey, if the rib's falling off the bone, it's overdone. We don't want to tell them that. I mean, I think they can figure that out on their own. Because we've got some really good judges down there, honestly. A lot of them have been judging a long time. But so they'll finish scoring. They judge your appearance, texture, taste, and then give an overall impression score, which now is 2 decimals, so we don't have so many ties at the top. As we had several years where we were really struggling to break those ties, which that's a whole nother process in itself, which we could talk about for hours. But thankfully, we have an awesome computer that does that for us now. And it's up and functioning, running well. We've loaded the program in, and we've got a contest ready to go pretty much.
So there's one difference in the blind judging versus this style of cooking versus others is that, they kind of talk to you in the KCBS judging school about what to look for in the way of a bite or rib or tenderness or aroma or flavor, But the difference in MBN or Memphis and May style judging is those judges are instructed to compare the individual entries. And so you're not judged on a standard. You're judged against your peers on the table.
That's it. That is the biggest difference between us and anyone else's. Most other organizations use subjective judging, so they have some sort of a standard or something that you're supposed to cook to. We use comparative, so it is whatever 5 to 6 entries are on the table with you. That is your competition that day, and then the teams that you go up against on site. So you have, 3 judges that come and judge you on site, and you're going up against, 2 other teams on their cards.
Mm-hmm. Michelle says the judges can give multiple 10s and 9s in criteria.
That's correct.
Unlike other sanctioning bodies.
Yeah, you can have multiple 10s in appearance, taste, and texture. You just cannot have multiple 10s in your overall impression.
That determines who was your best, worst.
Yes.
You're good, better, best.
Who's the best you've seen
the way that we say it is your overall impression of the entire judging experience. So the whole entry as it was presented to you. So that's the appearance, the flavor, everything together. The other difference between us and KCBS is that we allow you to turn in a sauce.
Yeah.
With your product.
I forget, that's right.
And you get to turn in up to 2 sauces. So we have a lot of teams that do like a hot and then a mild, or some people do a vinegar and or something. So they mix it up. But what you must remember, especially as a team, if you send more than 1 sauce in, it's up to the judge to take one of the sauces, and the meat is your combined flavor score. So if you submit a sauce, it goes into your flavor score.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter if it doesn't complement it well, and that kills a lot of people as they turn in a really good table sauce that we all like to eat or whatever from a restaurant essentially type thing, or something out of a bottle, and it doesn't quite complement their stuff. It doesn't hit the same flavor notes or something, and the judges, it's kind of a turnoff to them, and it does affect their flavor score. Mm-hmm. So you have to make sure that if you turn something in, it really hits with what you've got that day, and then it all really works well together, because it does go into the flavor score.
All right, my sister is Amber Henson, is the coordinator for the Roast and Boast over in Columbus, Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And so she asked, is there a reason why MBN does on-site judging and KCBS doesn't? Is there some, it's just the way it's set up?
I can't speak to anything that KCBS does. I don't have any idea why they haven't ever done that.
Yeah.
I think Memphis in May is the originator of this style, which is it's the show.
The MBN is what came from
the MBN came from Memphis in May.
That's right.
Memphis in May, it's about the show. It's about showing your product and how good you can cook.
And how big of a smoker. And
we tell the judges that you're not to judge the amount of dollars spent. You're supposed to judge the product in front of you.
Itself.
Right. So there's, for instance, like I said, we had a guy one year that finaled, and he was in the smallest booth in the whole entire park.
Yeah, that's right.
He barely had anything in his booth, but he had a great product.
That's right.
And then he went up against a team that had a triple decker, and essentially everything aside of a tour bus in there, and he beat them. Mm-hmm. And you see that a lot, and that's it doesn't matter how much you spend. What matters is how good of a product you put in front of them. I mean, you can kind of wow them, and you can do all the little things to make the judges happy when they come in. I mean, giving them a little wet towel or a wet nap or something to wipe their hands if it's hot, giving them an extra one to wipe their neck off. It's the little things that sets Memphis in May.
It's an experience. It's all about making that judge comfortable, feel like he's in your home, entertaining, making sure that, some judges are there looking for technique. They want to hear what temperature and for how long and what breed of pork that is. They want to hear all that stuff. And some guys that have been around the block, they just want to sit down. They want to talk to you. They want to just essentially be entertained and eat some good pork.
That's it. And, I think, honestly, what makes us special is the ability of you to sit down and tell your team's story and tell the story about where you came up with your recipe, how you put your product together. It makes a difference. I mean, to me, I think the show is what makes it. It's what makes it the World Championship.
Sleeper Barbecue is watching on YouTube. They say, so it sounds like a table of jurors, maybe?
Well, I would say it's similar to that. Yeah.
Because you tell your story.
Yeah.
You tell your story and you show your evidence of, are you the best cooker out there?
I've never thought about it as a legal way, but yeah, I mean, I can see that. And people who are lawyers probably make great presenters.
That's right.
If you know a lawyer, you might want to hire one to present for you.
You're giving your witness testimony, and you're showing your evidence is to say, I'm the best cooker out here, and I'm showing you what I've got right here.
Well, and you've got to show them that, and you've got to show them the meat on the grill, which is something that you don't have to do.
That's right.
Anywhere else, and you have to show them that meat on the grill. And you can dress up the grill as much as you want. You can fill it full of salad or whatever you want to do. We don't care.
Oranges, pineapples, whatever.
Whatever, like I said, whatever salad you want to throw at it. But then we also remind the judges that we're not having a salad contest. So if it's, I said, the garnish is only there to enhance the meat. Mm-hmm. So that's what you're there to judge, and that's what we try to get them to focus on. And I think most of them, they do a pretty good job.
It's about delivery. You know, like you said, if you're not down there if you can't cook good barbecue.
That's right.
And most everybody is down there, has the capability to cook it. Whether they take drunk and do it or not is up to them. That where the talent lies and outside of the cooking is the delivery and how you get the meat from a big hunk of shoulder or a whole hog or a slab of ribs, how you take that from a whole piece and how you transform it into the perfect pieces or the perfectly trimmed or the perfect color and the perfect appearance into that box to get good scores. And then on top of that, coupled with how well you can develop rapport and entertain and present the perfect pieces to the judge.
That's right.
So I look at it in my book is as important as the cooking is knowing how to deliver the product to the judges, whether it's blind or on site.
Oh yeah, you see it. You can see it a lot of times. The guys that are down there that are really good at presenting, they can take something that's not perfect and they can make that judge.
Yeah,
they sell it, and they do a really good job. And you can watch some of the best guys. You go around during judging. If you want to see what that's like, go take a look around. And there's a few booths you'll figure out where to stand in front of.
There's people that stand out in that, and I know you're probably. I'm not going to ask you to name anybody's names, but there's people that you're thinking about right now.
Oh yeah,
that are some of the better presenters out there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, there's definitely people who are that's their thing, and they're really good at that.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Presentation, the on-site score is what, 40% of your score?
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to build, how to take the perfect pieces of meat off of one of these cuts and get them into a box in an organized fashion where it stays warm and turn it in so that those judges, every piece in that box is pulled out in a certain fashion to where you've got the perfect pieces in the perfect place with the perfect shine, and they're hot and they're moist. That takes another level of preparation and experience and planning, completely different. And that's 60% of your score.
Yeah. And
if you don't hit that, you might as well not even present.
Oh no! Look, you can be a great presenter, but if you turn in a bad blind box, you have to win your blind table at Memphis in May if you want to make finals.
You got to win it.
You have to win it, and you have to have really, really good scores. I don't want to say exactly, but I believe we haven't had anybody who wasn't almost perfect.
Yeah.
As long as I can remember.
Wow.
Well, 10-20 used to be the highest.
Yeah, it's a couple decimal places higher, but not by much.
So usually your first, second, and thirds are usually perfect scores in there.
Yeah. You don't see anybody with a 9 in appearance or flavor or anything like that making finals.
And then I've made it before where I got our cards and we've had a few 9s in there, but luckily we dropped each one of those 9s.
Yeah.
And so you're going to drop the low score in each category on the scorecard.
Right.
So if you don't get 2 9s, then you can wind up with perfect in each one. So I've gotten it before and just dropped a 9 here, dropped a 9 here, dropped a 9 here, and dropped a 9 here.
And that's ideal for you, right?
And it's like,
that's right.
So not getting 2 9s gives you, the ability to move on. More than 1 9 in a particular criteria, you're out.
Oh yeah. And if you get anything less than a 9, you're done. We do see some 8s given on the cards down there. The 8 is the lowest score that you can get at Memphis in May. We took the 7s and all the lower numbers off because there's no point in beating a team up that bad. They know it wasn't that good. They know what they put in that box.
Yeah.
And we tell the judges that if you give someone an 8, we want you to write an explanation on the scorecard. That way, if a team calls me later and goes, "Man, what happened?" I can go, "Well, judge number 3 thought that your stuff was the saltiest thing he's ever put in his mouth," or something like that. And you read them the same thing, and we'll go back and do that. So if you want to know that, we're happy to share. but we think it's important for them to give feedback if they're marking somebody low. If you get a 9, we don't care about that, but anything less than that, we need to know why.
Yeah. Well, anything else, Mark? We've ran a little bit long, but I kind of thought we would tonight. This was a very popular
cover.
We
could go on for another hour. But
sure.
There's plenty more that we could cover. Like I said, download this if you're cooking. If you don't have one of these, please read it. It's got everything that you could possibly need to know in it. Of course, you can reach out to me. My email address is wcbccjudging@memphisma.org. If you've got any questions or anything like that, we'd be happy to answer them.
Yep. So if you guys have any questions, you can certainly post them up on this feed in the comments. We'll try to get back to you. We'll
try to get them answered next week when we're on the ground. Y'all make sure to join us next week. Share this post. We sure appreciate everybody watching. But make sure to watch us next week. If you've ever wanted to experience Memphis in May, we're going to try to give you the closest thing we can. We might be on for an hour and a half. I'm not sure. We're just going to play it by ear because you never know what it's going to be like, who you're going to run into, and all that. So we want to show you the sights and sounds and the characters of Memphis in May Barbecue Fest. And y'all come join us is all I can say, because it's going to be a good time, right?
Always is.
We're going to have a good party down on the river. I guarantee that.
We got a little bit more to put up with this year, but guess what? We're going to make it.
Right. I think everybody, if you just make the best out of it and just be nice to everybody and just going about your day, everything will be fine. We're going to have a good time.
We can't wait to see our friends and family. Also, we're going to have some brand new old school with Mark and Ashley decals. Y'all make sure to stop us when you see us, and we'll have those to hand out. Also, we'll be handing out some steaks for sheepdogs, decals, and if anybody'd like to get on the volunteer list for that, just let us know, and we'll be glad to add you. And for Mark Lambert and Brandon O'Quinn and the world champ Dusty Wally of the Hometown Boy Barbecue, my name's Ashley, and we're out for this week.
Thank y'all for watching.
All right, y'all join us next week. Thank y'all. God bless.